Welcome back to ULAW. My next guest is Olga Kubassova, who's Managing Director and founder of Imaging Analysis. Is that correct, Olga?
Image analysis.
Image analysis. So Olga, I'd like you to give us a little background on what you have actually put together and where you're going with this incredibly exciting company and technology that you've developed.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you for the opportunity letting me to talk about this. As probably many of the rheumatology would say, the main problem is how we analyze the data. What is the quickest way? What is the most reliable way to get the results? And what is the most reliable way to follow up the patients? There is imaging technology, MRI, which allows to do amazing things, which allows you to see through, which allows you to just understand where inflammatory activity comes from and how to shut it down. But there isn't a way of reliable analysis, and that's what my company does. We produce software which allows computer-aided detection and computer-aided evaluation and quantification of MRI data.
So one of the big problems that I have, that I think most of the rheumatologists who use MRI in their workplace have, is the inconsistency of reporting that you get from different radiologists all over the place. This sounds like something that would take that inconsistency away, and especially for research studies would help standardize the outcome measurements that you always are looking to hopefully have in an equal fashion.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're working with multiple international centers and key thinkers, and this is the question everybody raises. How can we standardize the response? How can we evaluate the data and get consistent response, reliable and 100% reproducible? And so if everybody uses the same software platform, developed and dedicated to the work in rheumatology, dedicated to people who know what they want, because it was developed in collaboration, such a close collaboration, we can achieve this consistency and we can have the most reliable results.
So what is the pharmaceutical industry's response to be to you so far? How much response have you had in terms of them engaging your software in doing studies? Has this started happening?
Yes, absolutely. From the moment we set up a company, and that was 4 years ago, the first year, one of the most innovative companies in pharmaceutical industry and our current client bought immediately several licenses and set up an amazing research project where people could use the software in clinical practice and clinical trials and understand how it actually could help. And since then, we're working with major players. I don't know if I have to name them, but...
You don't. I mean, I'm just curious that the pharma industry in Europe has engaged you
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, they just coming from every corner because they understand that inflammation is something they really need to look at. And the tools they have should be the most reliable and the most consistent tools they can give their clinicians to make the most interesting results.
So at this point, is rheumatoid arthritis and rheumatology your only disease area of interest, or are you working with any other disease areas?
We're looking at inflammatory activities throughout MSK. So we're looking at osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, PSA, bone sarcomas, any psoriatic joints, and now we're expanding into oncology.
I think in rheumatoid arthritis, we've been struggling to recognize that the management of rheumatoid arthritis is very similar to the management of malignancies, cancers, tumors. We need to be able to not so much at this point make an early diagnosis. I think we've gotten to the point where we can make an early diagnosis. The whole of ULAW has bought into the fact that we need to treat patients early and aggressively. But one of the key questions that keeps coming up is, when can you stop treatment? And to this point in time, we haven't seen anything in rheumatology that's given us the confidence of really knowing when the patient's in remission. So my question is, do you think there's a chance that your software technology is going to help us determine that particular question?
Absolutely. Well, if you look into the oncology drugs and you start treatment from a very aggressive, and then you have a room to move to a less aggressive treatment, and then you know when you can shut it down and you can follow up a patient, why not apply the same strategy to rheumatology patients? Start aggressively, then maybe slow down, and then you have a reliable technique, dynamic MRI, to follow up your patients. If something flares up on dynamic MRI, you know remission is not remission anymore, so you start treatment again.
And you theoretically could do an MRI with dynamic contrast every 6 months to follow a patient's disease activity, and then be able to see signals that you you can continue as is, or you need to start treatment back up, or your treatment's not
Absolutely.
working, or whatever.
Yes. Well, the software allows you reliably to identify on dynamic MRI in a fully automatic manner any inflammatory activity. It's objective response. So you're taking out human basis, you're taking out the subjectivity of the response. What you're seeing is truly objective opinion of computer. And then you can decide as a rheumatologist or radiologist, is that what I am expecting? But help you in your work, help you to speed up your analysis and kind of target your treatment strategy. You just need an objective tool.
I think it's great, and I think ultimately it's going to help us, it's going to help Isomere to try and expand the concept and the understanding that imaging isn't something of the future. Imaging is here right now. Combination of the value of MRI and ultrasound is great, but we really have to come up with a tool that can capture the inflammatory findings that both do separately, and to be able to do it in an automated fashion, in a standardized fashion, is fantastic. So I think it's brilliant. I wish you all the best. I thank you for being with us today, and hopefully we'll hear more about this in the near future. Thank you all,
very
guys.
much. Thank you.